I welcome you all for this lecture in a Loopback interface. This is Rajkumar D, Assistant Professor from Department of Information Technology, Dr. SNS Rajalakshmi College of Arts and Science. So this topic loop interface is covered under network administration using Linux subject. So what is loopback interface? So it is a virtual network interface that is always active and it is independent of physical interfaces. So it is going to be a logical interface which is taken care by a lot of programs and implementations. So the characteristics are it is always up against a configuration. So it is going to be a logical, not a physically existence one, and it is supported on all platforms and multiple loopbacks also it is possible. So the usage of this loopback interface is to monitor and make sure that everything is properly done. If something fails, then this one helps us to revoke the failed component. So this loopback address will be 127.0.0.1. So it is going to be in reserved address. So between 1 to 8. The purpose of this loopback address is to be used as a local host for self communication. So it helps us to make sure that the traffic to loopback loops internally, and it also bypasses the TCP/IP protocol layers. So since it is a self network, so we will be not using this TCP/IP protocol stack because the communication will be done with the local host. So why is the loopback interfaces used, or what is the necessity for using an loopback interfaces? So it helps us to make sure that we can do stable device identifications. So we need not be using dynamic procedures. So it helps us to for device identification, and it is independent of a physical interface state where if something fails we will not be able to access. So since it is performed or implemented logically, it is always available. Then it helps us to allocate this router ID for different routing protocols, and it is also used for waterfalls for management interfaces. So it also helps us to make sure that everything is working properly. So here if the diagram, if you are just taking base in this switch, will be using different protocols like SSH, then telnet, then SNMP clients. So all these the implementations are done logically. So loopback versus physical interfaces. The physical interfaces has the hardware ports like Ethernet port, and they will be having serial ports where the systems will be connected using a wires. So here the loopback interfaces is going to be a logical entity, so which is based on softwares. The software helps us to perform the function of exactly an interface sitting between two devices, and it requires no hardware. So the key difference is the here the loopback, it is independent of physical links, and the main advantage of this loopback interface is it is always reachable. Once we configure the system, it never goes off or it never disconnects. So the configuration of the loopback addresses will be done by the command called loopback. So interface loopback 0 is the command. So it uses the 32 subnet mask for the host loopback, that is the 255 valued. And the IP address for any loopback interfaces will be 10.0.0.1. Next, the subnet mask will be 25 in all four places. So the router ID for routing protocols will be using OSPF protocol, and we'll be using BGP protocol. I think we have discussed this already in the previous classes. OSPF stands for Open Shortest Path First Protocol. This BGP stands for Border Gateway Protocol. So this OSPF, this loopback is preferred for router ID, and it also ensures that the stable routing procedure is maintained, and it also survives this network changes since if it is dynamically changed. This border gateway protocol, it helps us to work as a loopback as a router ID, and it is independent of physical path since it's a logical entity, and it also supports to access multiple paths. So here the management is done by either this telnet or a secure socket. So the management access is done by either telnet or SSH to loopback IP. So the advantage is it accesses the survey of the physical link failures and it helps us to connect very easily. And since multiple paths are implemented, it always makes sure that the connectivity is always available. The primary scenario where we will be using all these things will be we have to maintain or we have to make sure that the access is available even if the primary entity goes down. So next one, there's a redundancy or failover scenario. Again, since we are using multiple paths, so there is no problem. If the primary link fails, the device is unreachable in normal scenario. But if the loopback is used and it is advertised in routing, to make sure that the primary link fails, it chooses the alternate path so that the link is always available. So this is the use of this loopback interfaces. It is going to be a logical entity and it makes sure that even if the primary link is failed, it chooses an alternative path so that the communication is always possible. I hope this session is very useful. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you.